fact that's saying you can put really restrictive restrictions on, but I don't think you can say that they cannot come in.
No.
You know, but that was the feeling that I was getting from some of the township officials. Now, I won't say all of them, but I talked to a few of them. Because they have concerns, and there's certain things that they just don't want. And, you know, I've had 2 or 3 now that are like considering doing their own zoning if we don't do something to.
Well, I think we gotta do what we feel is the best and not take that as a threat, or
Right.
you don't do what I want, we're gonna
Right.
take our toys and go home.
Absolutely.
Type thing. So, yeah.
But you also have to listen to people, so that's one of the comments that was made to me.
Okay. I feel I should give my spiel in that. Getting back to what Janice said about 1250, I've looked at a lot of counties, and we only hear, the people who are against it will only give you the Stark County, the Burke County, and whatever, that are 2-3 miles. There's a lot of them that are still 1250, if you can believe it. I think way back in the day, somebody came up with 1250 and everybody did it.
I would not be surprised if that was the setback that the company at that
PSC
time
or the
was
company,
saying,
something.
that
Right.
that was the setback, so we probably followed what they were
Well,
saying.
we did like we do are now, we got copies of everybody else and
Right.
it's about what they
Yeah.
Right. So, I agree that that 10-acre farmstead guy should have some protection. 1250 is way too close, okay? On the other hand, we shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel here in that there's over 1,000 wind towers in North Dakota. And the state has, you know, when this company gets a permit, they're not only getting it from Wells County, they have to get permitted by the state. The state has their parameters. They have to have a bond. They have to do all this stuff. And their current setback is 1,700 feet, okay? I'm for that little guy. I'm in Dan's camp. I don't think that's enough, okay? But I hear not only from this wind farm, but another wind farm, a different company, and I don't want to say a friend of mine, but a good acquaintance of mine who works on construction of wind towers, has for 30 years. I threw him out the other day. I happened to see him. I said, what do you got a mile setback? You'll never get one, he said. Well, so I hear that side of it, and then I hear a mile with a variance will work, although there's not a long history of that. So I'm really torn in between. I'm in the camp with Dan that, you know, I think a half mile is being generous. It's over and above what the state wanted. That's just my opinion. And it is then a very difficult decision. I just think back at, we make it a mile and they pull out. Would you be happy or would you be sad?
It's not about emotion.
And then 10 years from now, when the farm economy and cattle prices are crap, well, we're going to think back and say, yeah, you know, we really use some extra revenue around here. I don't know. And here's the thing. In any venture that you do, there's risks involved. There really are. I mean, there just is. It's a hard decision. Sorry. Well, we're not taking any comments from the audience. Unless anybody wants to ask somebody something. At this point, what do you want to do?
Well, what does the information tell you about the need for electricity 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now tell you? Is it going to stay the same? Is it going to go down? It's going up. And somehow, some way, that's going to have to be provided. And whether it's here or somewhere else, it's going to be provided. So I'm not sure what the best circumstance is, but you know, we all knew growing up the wind had power, the sun had power, but how do you harness it? Well, somebody's figured that out. Is that the be-all, end-all? Is that the last step on the chain? No, I doubt very seriously it is, but this is an opportunity, and you have to be mindful of that as well.
Any other comments? What do you want to do? You got to make a decision.
So I think the biggest thing right now, because you are in a regular meeting, is if you do any kind of changes to your setback as per the mile, then you will need to do another public hearing.
Correct. If we don't do anything today, it stands at a mile, and that goes back to the county commission on Thursday.
Well, not gonna go there on Thursday. It's not on our agenda.
Right.
Okay.
So, I mean.
I would like to see the county commissioners take action. They didn't take any action. They just sent it back to us.
We took action, we sent it back to you. Right.
Now, but the commissioners need to act.
Well, and granted, they don't necessarily, the commissioners don't make
So
any decision.
if
on
it's
it.
not on the
Right.
agenda for the June meeting, or the June meeting, when will it be?
Well, the conversation was always, there's a possibility of obviously this going back for another public hearing. And as a result of that, we said at the earliest, it would be on the July. And I don't know if it'll be on the July one either, but at the time of that, we said at the earliest, it would be at the July
I
meeting.
think tonight, what you would really want to do is, I know that we had talked about looking at other avenues of updates needed to other parts of the wind ordinance. If you're going to have another public hearing, I think it needs, that whole ordinance needs to be finished, you know what I mean? Anything that you're gonna change or update should, so that you can get it over and done with in one public.
We don't have any language in there that talks about a bond when the life expectancy wears out, right? The money taken
So-
to
So
tear it down,
tonight-
so to speak.
tonight's purpose could essentially be that you either change or keep the 1 mile setback, you have additions to the ordinance in the fact of anything with, you know, bonding or decommissioning or what have you. I don't know what you guys are thinking. But if you did that, then in say 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, we could have a public hearing based on everything that you have changed, so that if it goes through at that public hearing, you can take it to the July meeting, and then this one's just done and over with. You don't have to keep beating the
Right.
horse.
We
So-
can't kick the can down the road here forever.
And I'm ready to highlight whatever you want to add or subtract to it, so we're all good.
Well, after discussing a lot of this and researching this, I'm in the camp, other than the setback isn't far enough, but the state has qualifications for decommissioning. You know, instead of us hiring a lawyer and reinventing the wheel, can't we use theirs? I think it's pretty good.
And use whatever you want. It's
Well,
not
I know,
vote,
but
so-
we have to have a template of some sort.
You know, and those handouts that we got last time that I handed out, you know, there are things in them for bonding and decommissioning and what have you.
Right.
I don't know if you guys have looked at that since last time or not, but
Yeah, those are
there was a lot.
actually fairly similar to decommission stuff.
That's the interesting thing, like in their own information, where they say it's 2 to 3 million per tower to decommission. Where's that money gonna be hanging out at?
So 2 to 3 million, he said, to decommission.
Yeah,
He says, where's that money gonna be hanging out at to decommission them in 25 years?
okay, Wells,
That's right, in their own little book they gave us.
Wells,
The state of North Dakota requires you to post that security, and it's generally in the form of a bond, a letter of credit by an A-rated bank, so A-rated credit bank, so it's fully secured. So the money is, or you can make a cash deposit to the state of North Dakota.
So even if you change ownership, it would still be there through the state of North Dakota.
That's correct. They'll pull your permit if you don't have that bonding in place.
So here I see decommissioning plan and bonding requirement for, what one is this? Burley County.
Well,
The first one I
County's
looked
pretty
at.
good.
Said the wind project shall develop a wind turbine decommissioning plan in accordance with NDCC 490227. And I can pull that up.
That's the state, right?
That would be the states. Let me see if I can get to it. 49. It's under public utilities. Okay. 0226. And it's decommissioning of renewable energy company. And it says, not very long. The commission shall adopt rules governing the decommissioning of commercial wind energy conversion facilities. The rules must address the anticipated life of the project, the estimated decommissioning costs in current dollars, the method of schedule for updating the costs of the decommissioning and restoration, I'm guessing for inflation. The anticipated manner in which the project will be decommissioned and the site restored, and present and future natural resource development. The facility owner or operator of a commercial wind energy facility shall record the location of any portion of underground foundation not removed during decommissioning with the county recorder in the county in which any such underground foundation is located. The commission may adopt rules governing the decommissioning of commercial solar energy conversion facilities. That is 490227. I don't know how to get to NDAC.
Well, what do you want to do?
Well, like I say, I'd like to see the commissioners act on that mile setback. I feel the ball's in their court. Otherwise, what are we have these meetings, we take action, send it to commissioners, they send it back.
We sent it back because we didn't feel that we had full amount of information that meeting. I talked about it, Chad was sitting here and we were sitting and there was nobody for it. There was zero. And 80% of the people here were whining and they were from Eddy County that night. That wasn't an objective meeting. That's why we sent it back here. And then since then, we've had the wind farm people came to the festival hall and we had one more meeting which we had all these handouts and we were supposed to research and look at both sides of the scenario, which I hope everybody has.
I have been looking at it.
I'm not saying you haven't, but
Okay.
that's why we sent it back. Okay.
Well, I guess we need to move on, or we need to do,
Well, we do. I mean, you want verbiage in the language as far as the decommission?
Aren't we covered by the bond with that?
Well,
Does that
they
need to
have to, that's
It
the
will be,
thing.
but they'll never get a permit from the state of North Dakota without having that included.
Right.
So,
Really, it's redundant to me for us to have that in because you have to do that in the state
Yeah, I don't
already.
see why.
They can consider the project.
I don't feel it needs to be in here because
They can.
they're not gonna get a permit unless they have to.
Correct.
They either put cash in or they get a bond.
of all of the different handouts we have, with the possible exception of the setback, I think the Burley County one is the best one I've seen. It's the most comprehensive one I've seen. Ironically, it might make some of our other zoning look really primitive. But at the same time, again, we could sit here all night tonight, all day tomorrow, all day the next day, and try and come up with exactly what it should be here. But as I've looked through this, I don't see anything that looks a whole lot better and more complete than theirs does. So I'm not sure what we're trying to do here.
Well, and this is moving on to the next item, but I'm in the camp of Montreal's has a very good zoning for data centers, I thought. Instead of starting from scratch, just use theirs. That's topic, that's jump to the next topic.
And that is a place that's dealing with this right now.
Right.
Burley County is a place that's
They're
dealing
still-
with this right now.
Montreal is still working on
Yeah,
their.
we're still working on it. It's
But
Yeah,
they're-
I
they're
agree.
they're on
I
one
mean, these
then.
people are putting,
a lot of time and effort into it.
It's in their backyard already.
one of the members of Montreal County zoning committee said they already spent $15,000 on a consulting firm just for the data center. No, we aren't going to reinvent the wheel on all these.
I don't think so. I don't think we want to, because one thing I'm sure I'm not is an expert on ordinances related to wind towers or solar farms or data centers.
Right. Yeah, I stand corrected. I think the Burley County has a good data center ordinance. I looked at the wrong one. I had it in my folder here. Yeah. It's the Burley County one.
Take a big cheese there, chop down and put it.
Well, let's just set that aside for the time being.
There we go.
Well, the thing with it, you're like in the Burley County, and to me, it's all about, what it is do we have the, what's the setback? That's the stickler
That's
of it,
the stickler.
the stickler of it. I think within ours, we have a lot of stuff there. In Burley County, I would agree, it's there, everything's there. We decide, what's our recommendation going back to the county commission for that? To me, the ordinance is already here. It's there.
And what we don't have, the state does.
Exactly. What our thing is the setback. And where, the bottom line is, everybody's spoken, it's, to me, we decide, we send that back, and we move.
We did spend half an hour discussing what a structure is, though, even though it's not related to this particular policy. Okay, and that's why I like the comprehensive nature of that, and because it takes, they're out of the equation.
So what you say is we have another public meeting, we adopt Burley County's zoning thing, and we decide where we want our setback, and that's gonna be ours, that would go to the county commission.
Essentially is it. I mean, and there's that 1750, and I don't think anybody here is gonna be an advocate for that.
Right.
Okay? And I think, I would say we're unanimous on that. What we're not unanimous on
This is on
where
data
exactly it
centers or
should be.
everything?
No, this is,
No, one thing at a time. This is just wind towers now.
so to me, just to have that public meeting in 2 weeks, we can
Adapt.
adopt Burley County, and then bottom line is we need to make a decision on the setback.
I think that would be good because there's more people that are sitting up and taking notice now in Wells County since this stuff has been going on.
Right.
So we'll probably get a lot better feedback if we have.
And this really is, I've said it before, it's really not so much about, Valhalla has their own zoning. Brendan on the edge of one way or the other. This wind project doesn't really pertain to what we're talking about here. It's the future,
Yeah,
right?
I fully agree.
So.
So you
All
want me
right.
to rewrite Burley's to format it for the Wells County and then,
Just put wells on the top of it.
well, you have to update other things that pertain to
That's what
wells.
Whiteout's for, Jenna.
Okay,
Just kidding. So, we don't need a motion.
No.
Jen and I talked about this now. We don't need a motion to do something for a public hearing, we need a suggestion that we're going to change the ordinance. So we're gonna suggest changing the ordinance to Burley counties, and we'll have a public hearing in 2 weeks. Is that right? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, once we pick a date.
Except for the setback, correct.
So, you're gonna want a setback before you have your public.
Yeah, you gotta have it, yeah.
Because otherwise you're gonna have to have a second
Another
one
one,
for
then
a
you have to have
setback.
another one.
So you need to figure out the setback thing.
Have another public.
Well, the consensus is 4-2 here tonight. It's speeding things along, so
Do we need to make a motion, or we just let it lay because,
Well,
No.
you don't need to make a motion, you
We
just have to come to a consensus of what the setback should be so that I can put it into this.
correct.
well, I guess the consensus is 4-2 then, is it not?
42 for what?
Miles
So leave it at
from
mile.
there.
Leave it a mile, okay.
Is that what it is? I mean, that's what I gathered, but I guess I want to know that's what it is.
I don't know, because I kinda got lost in all of it, so,
Okay. Well, mile.
okay, that will be on my to-do list.
So that'll be a consensus. Moving on. What do you think about Burley County's, they're gonna charge us for plagiarizing. Burley County's format for data centers. You have that somewhere here.
Yep, it was in the packet, I should have.
Right.
recognized that.
They're open to our plagiarism as long as we go there and stand there and mark it out.
Right. Yep. To me, it looks fairly comprehensive. It's a half mile, once again, half-mile setback to any churches, schools, dwellings, synagogues, religious institutions. There's decibel levels here that there's restrictions on. I would recommend that we, at that same hearing, adopt Burley County's.
Maybe do I have
Refresh. What's their setback for this?
For what? Half mile.
that? So,
Wow.
We will time until that 2-week meeting to research the data center.
Correct.
so,
Yep.
one thing that I don't know if I printed this off or not for you guys, but I printed Williams County as well.
Yeah, we got Williams County.
Okay, well, what I probably didn't give you was the email exchange between that whole big list of people that was the zoning directors, and I'd like to read you a part of the email that was received from Cameron Heimer from Williams County, and it says, the original question, if I can find it, what are the negative aspects of these projects to put a moratorium in place? And it says, the data center you're writing about in Williams County, Atlas Power, was completed before we adopted our data center ordinance on 1/2/24. So it did not fall under our current ordinance regulating them. The data center ordinance and regulations were adopted and created from problems and concerns we learned with Atlas. Noise is the #1 complaint. With the advice from legal and consultants, we elected not to adopt and enforce a noise ordinance, but instead achieve noise suppression throughout setbacks. With the rural nature of our county, that is possible. The Atlas facility is one of the largest, if not the largest, cryptocurrency mining centers in the United States, and was courted by the state and other entities to build a facility in Williams County. The governor even spoke at the 2022 press conference. At the time it was proposed, we determined it could fall under the energy conversion facility, which is the permitted use within the heat industry district, or heavy industry district. After the facility was operating, we learned that the noise level Atlas claimed at the press conference of 30 to 40 decibels was much higher than we were told. Some of the many frustrations staff has had with this facility is that it was promoted by the state with very little support to the county. Yet we still hear certain state commission members say Williams County should have never allowed it, or we did it wrong. She's like, I'll get off my soapbox now. On September 16, 2024, the court issued an order granting our motion for summary judgment. In short, Williams County is out of the case now as the judge found the plaintiff's writ of mandamus holds no merit. The press originally made a huge deal when the residents of Judson Township were suing Atlas Power and the county, but I have not seen an article that says the county is no longer in the case. So she's basically stating, make sure you really watch for your sound barriers and setbacks from that kind of thing, because it produces a lot more than what they say it was going to. Which
They must not have had in their wording or
they didn't have it.
decibel levels.
They didn't have the zoning. They put it. It's kind of like that
Right.
Ellenville situation.
Right.
You know, they got it, and now they're backtracking.
Right.
I was told by a member of the Montreal County Zoning Committee that any dealings they've had with the data centers or the battery storage, completely different than dealing with the oil people or whatever. He said, you cannot, they will not live up to what they say they're going to do, and you have to go to court. It's the only way you can deal with them. He said it's a completely different mindset than what the oil industry does. So we have to make sure we have our house in order.
Right.
And they said the noise is the biggest problem, because you cannot, his words were, you cannot contain the noise from them with barriers or trees.
Well, I guess that's why I like Burley counties, because they have decibel levels in there. I don't think Williams does.
I'm trying to
And you definitely want decibel. You mean, that's something that can be measured versus saying, well, guys, it's pretty quiet. That's not very, you don't have the ability to measure that.
Not to jump down or anything, but we keep talking about Montreal County, and they are having a planning and zoning workshop. And I am planning on going to that on July 16th, where they are going to talk about data centers, battery storage facilities, legislative changes, all of that. So
I think that'd be a good idea. Really good.
So I'm going to go to that, and I'll bring back whatever handouts they have. So in the meantime, you know, we can start working on what we like here, but we don't have to have this ready for the public hearing in, you know, a couple weeks. We could start on it and have another one after the July 16th meeting pertaining to data centers and battery storage facilities after we've gained some of that information from that workshop. It's an idea.
Good idea.
Good idea. Okay.
Do you want me to just start typing for this, and we can always add, subtract, or whatever at the next regular meeting pertaining to data centers from whatever's brought back from Montreal County workshop? Or do you want me just to leave it alone until then, until after that?
I'd like to see more time. I guess I'm way more in favor of that, the one Montreal County has done. It seems to cover more things than what Burley County does.
Yeah, and I don't have a copy of that yet because it's not been, well, maybe I do. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, then I have
Well, you
it.
sent it to me.
Well, let's stick with the agenda. Battery storage facilities, we're going to do it anyway with that then. Are we?
I think we just be here.
Here, yeah.
Have Jenna go to that and get
And
that
there's not a-
information. And for me, it's just to, I've been going online and trying to learn more about it and.
There is not many people that have ordinance.
It's fairly new,
Yeah.
you know, along with the
But
CO2
just
stuff.
what it's all
new.
about, just to wrap my head around, because I've got to have some knowledge base to it.
Right.
I mean, there's just not a lot there, but I think if we can, she can get some information that can help us, those aren't pressing. We don't have anybody at our doorstep right now
Right.
to do that, so I think we can.
And we have a moratorium in effect.
Yeah,